Thank you, John, for joining us today. Let's start with Mobile Health's story. It's such a unique one, and I feel that a lot of CEOs and founders would really relate to it. Can you share how you and your co-founders came up with the idea?
It came out of another venture that we had done. We had started a talent management company in the compensation space, and we had sold it to a company called Taleo, which then became Oracle. We were fortunate enough to have a successful exit. We knew a fair amount about the software space. We knew how to build software that was engaging, that people would use. We thought, could we use this advent at the time, back in 2010, 2011, of mobile technology was really emerging quickly. And we thought, could we use this new mode of technology to help people live healthier and better lives? It was a very interesting time to sort of start a business in the health space to help people improve their health with this new mobile technology that was just coming of age.
Amazing. Before an exit could be considered, you had to build a business that others would want. Can you share a few levers that you pulled to get your company to where it needed to be?
That's a great question. So the levers that we chose to get the company where it needed to be for a sale, and we didn't really start it with the idea of selling it. We really started it with the idea of how do we help as many people as we can. But the number one thing that it really always comes down to is, can you solve big problems for the employer? What we really started with is, how do we help the customers with their biggest problem? Their employees can't really afford healthcare. How do we use mobile to start to address some of that in a way that it becomes just compelling for them to want to sustain it? And I think one of the things when we came to SCG and said, hey, we're thinking about selling the company, they looked at all of our metrics, and our customers just don't leave, because the problem that we're solving for them is so acute, and that it's such a good value and it's such a help to the employees, that we're sort of a core technology and a core solution that those employers provide. So you really have to be indispensable, especially in this environment.
Timing an exit can be very tricky. We were just talking about that a few minutes ago. I'd love for you to share some of the things that you were seeing that led you to believe that it was the right time to exit.
Yeah, so thinking about an exit is really, really tricky. And it's hard because you're never quite sure if you're sort of early, late, or sort of, just in the right time frame. I think for us, we saw the competitors bulking up, and we said, you know what? We really should get with a bigger platform, because we think we can really help a lot more people. But doing it as an independent company that was sort of funded by the founders, we had got to 17 million in revenue. That was great. But we really think that we needed to help more people, and we needed a bigger platform. And that's what caused us to say, is there a banker that can help us? Well, who does it make sense? And we're still part owners of the company. So we didn't sell out and walk into the sunset. What we did is we partnered with a larger platform so we can really help more and more people. That's what we're trying to do.
Many founders wrestle with the decision of whether or not to hire an advisor, and if so, which one. I know you went through a process prior to hiring SEG, and it wasn't successful. Can you go into that process and what the differences were from the previous process to the one that SEG ran?
We had a strategic that was very interested. They had gotten to the point where they actually wrote us a written offer. So that was a pretty big deal. And what I think happened is that banker thought it was almost a done deal. So I don't think that they did the sort of the market scan and the work to develop the materials and the story, and they didn't get to know us. Like, we didn't interact with them the way we interacted with Software Equity Group. So I attribute it as, what happened then is, because we had a written offer in hand and it didn't work out, that they sort of put too many chips on that. And you don't want to do that. You want to keep, you'll hear the SEG folks talk about competitive tension and how important that is to a process. And it really is. And so when we went through that process, we just didn't get a result we wanted. So we folded up shop. When I met the SEG team, it was clear from the beginning that they were willing to sort of really shape the story and really come to us and say, okay, this is how you think you look. but this is how you look to the buying community, right? And I just found that interaction to be really valuable and helpful. And I think I made a comment at one point that one of your team members, did as good of a job selling our products and our company as our own staff. And I think that's when Alan, your founder, said that's the ultimate compliment you can provide. And they really did.
Can you share a little bit about the preparation and the discovery calls that the team walked you through?
Sure. So the preparation and the discovery calls that the team walked us through, it was clear from the beginning that it was a very structured process that had been used before. They weren't letting us lead. They had a process that they wanted to take us through that would get them to a destination where they would have the materials and the outreach that they needed to interest the market. And I think that was something it's hard to tell early days with a banker if they have that or don't have that. But I think that's a thing that SEG should be proud of, because I think that structure and process where, it's like anything else. Anything you do a lot, like whatever, you've closed 20 deals this year, right? If you do a lot of them, you learn a lot. And it was clear that SEG had thoughtfully brought in all the experience they had and made it into a process that was repeatable, that could be used across. And when I spoke to references, and I did do references on SEG, they were enormously helpful and very complimentary. And they talked about this process and how it really resulted in getting to a set of materials and a story that the market would respond to. And I found that to be really helpful.
I was going to ask, and that's a great point. What were your biggest concerns heading into the process, and how did SEG address them?
Yeah, my biggest concern was, how do we make sure we continue to run the company? Because I'm very bullish on mobile health over the long term. I know that the persistent problem of, affordability and accessibility of healthcare are going to be here. And I want to make sure that we can continue to execute and grow and help our clients the way we need to. And I was very worried about having to step away from the business and having the business sort of go sideways for a while I was away. And what I'd say is SEG did a great job. And I think a lot of it comes back to that structure we talked about. There's a process, you're not doing this for the first time. It's like, we need to develop these materials with this kind of story to get out to the market. And then they would go and do their thing and come back and say, does this meet the mark? And so I was really able to continue to run the business while that was happening. And I found that to be extraordinarily helpful.
Can you speak to how SEG created competitive tension and how that impacted your final outcome?
I think SEG does sort of like breathing air. I think that's just what you guys do. So it wasn't something I just sort of watched it. And I think, we came up with, 7 or 8 IOIs and then, 4 written offers after that. I mean, that's how you get that, right? I mean, I could talk about it, but I think it's more, proof is in the pudding, proof is in the results. But what you have is an advisor along with you to sort of take the emotion out of it and say, this is what it looks like from the buyer's perspective. And if you want to be worth $1 billion, go back and keep building and come back and talk to us when you're worth that. But if you want to sell now, this is what it looks like. And here's the range of outcomes we think we can get. SEG was great with that.
How did SEG's preparation in the early stage help de-risk the deal throughout the process?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think SEG's prep early in the process made it so that when we got to closing, we weren't hiding anything. It just, again, we were like, we're very excited about our opportunity. We're either going to find a partner or become part of a bigger platform, or we're going to go it alone. Let's tell them everything. I don't want to, we weren't trying to be something we weren't. We were just describing to the market who we were. And SEG helped us sort of put all that down on paper, present that to the buyers in a way where they understood where the business was, how it had grown, how we compete in the market. And then by the time we got to the end, diligence, I think our team member said it was sort of a boring closing call, because it was like, yeah, this is all the stuff we've been talking about. I was like, yeah, it's what we said it was, And I would encourage every founder, just come clean. Just, this is where we're at, and what you'll find out is either you're ready or you're not ready. And don't try to pretend you're ready, because you'll be found out, right? But if you're ready, SEG is a great partner to go with.
So what would you share with the CEO that's listening in, that's maybe a few years behind you, is thinking about an exit, has scaled his company and not sure what to do next?
The first thing I'd say is be really proud of yourself, because leaving your perfectly good paying job with benefits to go out and start. You've got to be a little crazy and very optimistic. So smell the roses, enjoy what you've built and who you've built it with. And, realize that there's not a lot of people in the world that can do that. So be proud of yourself, number one. Number two, get a good advisor, because if you're a good entrepreneur, you have, you're an optimist by trade, but it's good to have somebody that's an unemotional balancing force to that. And so having the right advisor is just really critical.
Why would you recommend SEG to another CEO?
One, they're just good people. Like, you can just tell, Two, they've got a great track record, right? Three, here I am, a year and a couple of months after we closed the transaction, and I would still, pick up the phone when they call and feel like they're just good people that, I would help if I could. And if I needed something, I'd call them and see if they could be helpful. Just good people with a lot of deep experience in this area. And if you're in SaaS software, having a specialist that really understands SaaS makes a big difference. So I'd say they're a great choice.
Thank you so much for joining us again today.
It was my pleasure.